Good morning, friends. Welcome to Program with Akshay. And in today's video, we will start how to containerize .NET Core 7 application using Docker. So before starting the demo, there are prerequisites to begin with the demo. So we need to have VS 2022 installed in your laptop. We need to have Docker Desktop. Okay. And we need to have .NET Core 7.0, the newest version SDK. Okay. So I already have these three things installed in my machine. So let's begin with the demo. So what is Docker? So Docker is nothing but a software platform that allows you to build, test, deploy applications quickly. Okay. So Docker packages software into standardized units and containers that have everything the software needs to run, including libraries, system tools, code, and runtime. Okay. Now the question arises when and why to use Docker. So, okay. So in the old methods where we used to create a virtual machine and where we used to install IIS 8.0, we used to host our libraries, our code into IIS. Okay. Now, gone are the days where each and every application is dealing with microservices. Okay, so basically, we have a virtual machine. Okay, and there is one microservice called as customer and one microservice called as business. Okay, so these two microservices are the two developers are consistently working with those two microservices. So basically, they create a Docker file. One say customer Docker file and another is business Docker file. Now each developer will build this Docker file and deploy the Docker file. So we will have two containers, okay, one with business and one with customer, okay. And this business and customer are orchestrating with each other. That means they are communicating with each other. So that is the use of microservices and that is the use of Docker here, okay. So basically, if we deploy these two microservices in our traditional way, like in IIS, assume that if our server gets crashed or assume that if our IIS server is not running, okay, or there is some an activity or reboot activity happens, what happens is application is down. Okay, so this scenario gets failed completely. Whereas in this scenario, if the business microservices get crashed or the Docker file gets crashed, we already have a customer microservice running in another Docker container. We can heal this Docker container with the help of Kubernetes or other application containerization. So there are many ways to build and deploy the Docker file. Okay, that is the way we should use the Docker file, and that is why we are using Docker file. Okay, that means each and every application or each and every microservice is running in a separate container. Okay, so basically isolation of environments, consistency, portability, and scalability. Okay, and there is resource efficiency. We can allocate and deallocate resources depending upon the CPU utilization, the memory usage, and so on and so forth. So that is why we should use Docker in our today's programming paradigm. Okay, so let's begin with demo. Okay, we need to create a console application. I already have opened my Visual Studio 2022. We will create a new project inside the C folder. Let the project templates load. A console application. Next, we will say hello world with Docker. Okay. Make sure that you are placing this solution inside the C folder. Why? Because I already have Docker Desktop installed in C drive. You can do it on D drive, E drive, and so on and so forth, so that you can install this solution or you can create this solution inside the C folder. So create next. Will have .NET 7.0 SDK. I will replace that, and we have the solution up and running. Okay, so we will have a file program.cs, and inside the program.cs we will have hello world. Now once the solution gets loaded, we will create a Docker file. Okay, and inside the Docker file we will create various steps how to build and deploy. So let's create a new file name as Docker file. Right click on the project, add new file. Let's say a new item. and this Docker file doesn't have any extension. Okay, no .txt or nothing. Make sure the convention is D as Docker and F as small. So we will create that Docker file. Okay, let's create the Docker file. And we have a Docker file created. Now I will paste this code and I will explain each of the steps about this Docker file. Okay, so beginning with, so we have something called as from mcrmicrosoft.com/.net/sdk 7.0 as built, and the working dir is app. Okay, so start with the base image for your Docker container, which is specified is nothing but our Microsoft.NET Core SDK. Okay, this image uses .NET Core SDK 7.0 as its starting point. Okay, and we are building this image. Okay, the next is nothing but our working directory within the container. That is nothing but our /app. That this is where your application files will be copied and will be built. Okay, now, the next step, copy the .ch proj and restore as distinct layers. Okay, to copy the project files, we have the project files in .ch proj file from your computer to the app directory. Okay, in the container, you need to use copy command basically to copy those .ch proj files into the app directory. This step is separate from to one how to optimize Docker layers caching. It ensures that when there are changes in the project file, the subsequent steps will execute it. Okay, to restore the project dependencies and make sure all required packages are downloaded and available for building the application, you can use the command run.net restore. Okay, this command will take care of all the restoring all the dependencies. Okay, now copy the remaining source code and build the application. Okay, next is nothing but copy the remaining source code like the code, the files from the local directory to the app directory and build the application. Okay, and then run the .NET, our .NET Core application, publish it and release it out, which is nothing but the command restores project dependencies and all the required packages. Okay, the above command builds all the .NET Core application in the release mode. Okay, so basically we are releasing the project. Okay, and all the applications and dependencies are restored. Okay, now build the image. Basically the Docker file creates an image. Okay, once you build the Docker file, it creates an image. Okay, so the above command for the .NET Core is nothing but from mcr.microsoft.com/.net/runtime 7.0. This section starts the new phase using the runtime image. This image is small and contains only the runtime needed to run the .NET Core 7 application, unlike the SDK image, which is used for builds. Okay, which is the working directory, our app. Okay, copy from, we have already copied from build/app/out in this new section. Okay, so which copies the compiled application from the build components to the current component. Okay, this ensures that only necessary features are added at the final runtime image. Okay, and the last and the final section is the entry point. Okay, that means the entry point when the container starts. Okay, so we have something called as .NET, entry point is as .NET, and our project folder name .dll specifies the command when an object based on this image is started. In this case, it creates your .NET Core console application by calling hello world with docker.dll. Okay, so let's start. And okay, so let's create a Docker image first. So to create a Docker image, we will go to CMD, we will go to C drive, and inside C drive we will go to our solution. Here is our solution. Here is our project. Where is the Docker file placed? I will copy paste that. So we are inside the C drive. Inside that we have hello world folder. We have something called as hello world with Docker folder. Okay. And where our solution is there, and inside that our project libraries like including the program.cs and Docker file are there. Okay, now to build an image we need to type a command docker build, okay, -t console app dot. Okay, so the command creates a Docker image that uses a Docker file in the current directory. Okay, so the current working directory is our this. So the dot denotes is the current working directory. Okay, now let's press enter. This will build the Docker image. Let's wait for a minute. So now I have built the command docker build -t. -t are nothing but an option where we specify the option for the Docker build image, we call build commands, and console-app. You can give any name, console-app demo dot space dot denotes the current working directory. Okay, so once the image gets built, we will run the Docker image inside a Docker container. It is building step 5, step 6, and once the all the steps are executed, we will have our image ready, and then we will run the Docker. So it's almost there. It's exporting layers, writing image, naming to Docker IO, and it's done. Now we will try to run. So to run the Docker image, we have command docker run -p, then we specify the range address and the port number, and our image name, here image name is console app, and press enter. So we have hello world up and running inside the container. Okay, so docker run, okay, this command is to run the Docker container based on a specified image. Okay, -p 5000 :80. This part is the command defines the port mapping. It tells Docker that to map 5000 on your host machine on which port, on 80 of the Docker container. And the console-app is nothing but the name or the ID of the Docker image from which you want to create and deploy the object. You should replace this with the actual image or the ID of the Docker image. Okay, so we already have demonstrated hello world inside a container. In the next videos, we will see how to execute a sample demo application, CRUD application, or entity framework application inside a Docker container. So thanks for watching. Have a great day.